Hello there, fellow adventurers! This time last year, we looked at some games developed by Cosmic Void, including Void Breach, The Corruption Within, and the demo for Blood Nova, which at the time was just launching its Kickstarter campaign. Well, since then, the game has been released and was one of my favorite adventure games of 2022, along with The Excavation of Hobbs Barrow, Lucy Dreaming, and I guess I should mention Return to Monkey Island, or I might get bludgeoned by a rubber chicken.
What?
No spoilers.
Why are you hitting me with a rubber chicken?
No spoilers, no spoilers, no spoilers.
Alright. I'm not gonna make any spoilers in this video, I promise. Do you believe me?
I asked my mom, who's turning 80 soon, if she'd like to be in this video, but once again, she wasn't too keen. Hey Mom!
Hello.
Would you like to be in my latest video?
Absolutely not. And by the way, there's cat feces in the living room.
So let's reach for the heavens and wrap our fingers in starlight as we explore the cosmic world of Blood Nova, with some help from the devs themselves, artist and coder Aviv Salinas, and writer-designer Ross Joseph Gardner, who just happens to look like actress Anna Karina. Let's find out how the game first came into being.
Originally, we had in mind making, a traditional point-and-click game set in a desert island. I sketched out a few rooms. Personally, I wasn't very happy with those. I then began experimenting with something more spacey, set on a space station. I didn't have any idea in mind what it was going to be about. My approach is first to, do some artwork. Recently, I think I heard Julia Minamata say that that's her approach as well. First, she draws the rooms, and only then she think up what the story is about.
Aviv showed me the rooms, and there was this kind of strange fusion between science fiction, science fantasy. I think the room that kind of triggered it for me was the control room of at the time, a space station, which was like a kind of bridge with a literal wheel in there and an armchair. And I was like, there's some really strange and interesting kind of aesthetic choices. And I just started to build a world around it, starting with a character, really. I kind of wanted to do a reverse Star Wars. And I always liked Princess Leia more than Luke, so I was like, I just want the character to be a princess. And so very quickly this kind of character of Princess Leia came to be. And then I started imagining this kind of lighthouse, this sort of waypoint between galaxies with this kind of severe refugee problem. And that just seemed like a really good place to start. But the art was so evocative and so interesting, and the color palette was so rich and unique that it wasn't very hard to just start building this world around it. And that's where I started designing the game.
The color palette for Blood Nova is mostly purple, blue, and green, which creates an atmosphere of everything being bathed in starlight. Our character, Princess Love, is set to assume the throne of the Galactic Empire, whether she's ready to or not, and at first she really isn't ready to give up her life of cosmic hijinks with her royal sentinel and best friend Kel. Events play out like they did in the demo, with the lighthouse they're on suddenly filling with toxic gas that kills everyone on board, and the princess must find an antidote to cure her friend before it's too late. I did notice some changes though, like this poster of Guru Munt Treble, who used to be called Max Lionstar. Personally, I prefer the name Max Lionstar, and you can see him more clearly in an earlier version of the artwork. Reminds me of that Fabio calendar I got, especially for my review of Tex Murphy Under a Killing Moon. There's no voice acting in this game, which you'd think would be a disadvantage, but I feel like it's made up for by the beautifully evocative soundtrack by Donovan Jonk of Mega Hammer Studios. I missed interviewing him, but I'd like to imagine him as this two-headed monkey with a hammer, bashing out these haunting melodies. Still, I would have liked to hear this two-headed torso singing this song. Oh, Dr. Colgast, your knowledge was so vast. You mended many a heart and precipitated many an anal leak. You had the widest smile in all Velea. We only wish it remained on this side of the mortal veil. Anyway, enough singing about anal leaks for now. Let's hear more about the relationship between Princess Love and Kel, which is right at the heart of the story.
Yeah, very much so. The whole game was built around Princess Love and Kel Yakovet. And the idea that you would have these two characters who had grown up together and were essential within each other's lives, going through these incredibly tumultuous political events, but who were ultimately just two young adults fresh out of adolescence who suddenly found themselves with the fate of the whole galaxy kind of upon their shoulders, and then that the story would just be built around them in this high pressure environment in which people just wanted to kill them, and they would have to, in order to survive, their relationship would have to evolve. That just seemed like a really good heart for the story to kind of drive forward.
The lighthouse is controlled by a computer called Ava, kind of like HAL in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Why is her name all in capitals, you ask? Well, according to her, it's because she thinks people should have to shout her name.
Ava!
Each of these character portraits are works of art that look great as desktop wallpaper, my favorite being this mysterious figure who communicates telepathically with Princess Love. And yes, they really do have a snow globe for a head.
When I gave it to Aviv, I was like, "Would you please draw this?" And Aviv was like, "Sure." And then he did such an amazing job with it. I was like, it was perfect. I was like, "That's Ramzat. That is phenomenal." Then Aviv was like, "Wait, that's their actual head?" I was like, "Yeah, that's their head. They're just a snow globe person." And that to me felt like that was the kind of entry point to that was my kind of the way of communicating to the player that this is not a science fiction universe. This is kind of a science fantasy universe. There are just people with snow globes for heads. That is just how it is. There's nothing behind it. It's just, you've got to accept that or leave.
Of course, I gladly accept anyone with a snow globe head, especially with dialogue that's so beautifully poetic.
I am the engine of your sight, the secret blood binding your stars, your past, present, and future. I am Santa.
In contrast, Love has a very different way of expressing herself.
On my word of honor, I will not gobble the cake.
The next part of the game is a flashback scene in the desert, where Love has to go through a ritual of passage to find her way to the Oracle at the Well of Becoming, which gives depth to her character going on this spiritual journey as part of her royal heritage. This short interlude is one of my favorite parts of the game, though it wasn't so easy to code.
That was, while just being text, it was by far, I think, the hardest room to code. Because you have all these hotspots that keep changing. So you need to, keep track of all the triggers. So at this moment in the game, it's this thing, and a few instances later, it's the other thing, and then it's this thing. So it was very hard to put together.
After reaching the Oracle, we have a choice of either security, prosperity, or stability. Unfortunately, this doesn't lead to any alternate story paths, though that's kind of the point. As heir to the throne, it's our destiny to aspire to all three of these choices.
In other words, it's a load of old bollocks.
Back in the present, the final part of Blood Nova is where the drama really builds, and we get more of a glimpse of what's going on beyond the Star Channel, an endless succession of cruel warlords, each fighting for control of an anarchic galaxy. One of the warlords, called Tyrant Red, shows up, looking like a bodybuilder with a big red button for a head. I wonder if he'd self-destruct if we press the button. It's time for Princess Love to fight for the Empire and assert her authority. How? By solving adventure game puzzles, of course. This one with the blobs is just like the microscope puzzle in The Seventh Guest, which I talk about fondly in my review. There's one puzzle though that even the strategy guide can't help you with. Here you play against Stauf himself, and the objective is to end up with more blue blobs than green blobs, but the AI is set so high it feels like it was created by Cyberdyne Systems. After playing this for a while, I got really grossed out by the disgusting slurping sounds and decided to admit defeat. If you read this book in the library, it will give you clues to solving the puzzle, and after 3 times it will solve it for you. The manual states there is a price to pay for this, but whatever the price, it's worth it so I don't totally lose my mind. There's also a fetch quest collecting some ingredients, one of which is Magedon Essence, which is the substance produced by 2 Magedons mating.
What substance could that be, I wonder? Let's ask the devs to give us the jizz.
In the game right now, Magedon Essence is just
Saliva.
Saliva of this creature. It wasn't that originally, though. Would you like to elaborate on that, Ross?
Yes. The puzzle was intact, as you see it, except that the Magedon, you'd have to... its essence was a slightly different substance. And I went all the way with it, I wrote it, and eventually Aviv just said, we can't do that, we're not doing that. And I was like, really? I said, yes, we're not doing that. And then, on reflection, he was quite right.
Apart from the Magedon essence, this game really stuck with me because the world it creates is so evocative and the characters are so compelling. It's this balance of the epic and the intimate that I think makes it such a memorable experience.
Yeah, I feel like if you want to tell that kind of broad sort of space opera, right, where you've got huge forces, you have political clans, you've got houses, you've got empires, you've got galaxies, you've got worlds at stake, all that kind of stuff is all well and good, but you don't really care about any of it unless you care about the people involved. And one of the issues is when you have a character like Princess Love, who is the heir to an empire, like she's literally the most privileged person in the galaxy. It's like, okay, how do you get people to sympathize with her? You sort of have to find the kind of humanity in her, and Kel was just this great foil for Love, this way to tell Love's story without her becoming this kind of sort of privileged, spoiled, rich kid. Kel was there to ground her. And I figured that if players didn't care about Kel and Love, then they wouldn't care about any of the other shit going on in the story.
After playing the demo, I said I'd be disappointed if we didn't get to see flying cats in the final game, and my wish was granted right at the very end. So, if you made a wish on a shooting cat, what would you wish for?
I know what I'd wish for. More games by Cosmic Void, of course. Like Elsewhere in the Night, a psychic noir murder mystery now available on itch.io. And Tachyon Dreams, the third of which was only just released. So, follow the link in the description below to explore further into the void. And don't forget to bring your Magedon essence. I am... What substance could that be, I wonder? Let's ask the devs to give us... Wait, how come I only have 4 fingers? What substance could that be, I wonder? Let's ask the devs to give us...